Yo, what's up guys? Ben here. In this video I want to talk about the different NG elite specs and how they compare to each other. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a rant. Um, so yeah, a bit different from the content I usually do, but I just felt like making a video about this stuff and well, sharing my opinion with the world. I don't expect anything from this video obviously. Yeah, just feel like talking about it. So let's maybe start off by telling, well, my story and with engineer, I guess. I've not always been an engineer man. I started playing engineer like 5 or 6 years ago, maybe, in raids. Back in the NG Holosmith heydays, when Holosmith was one of those specs that you could pretty much play on every boss kind of condi or power. Um, Boss didn't really matter. You could just play power Holosmith, overheat with your rifle with bomb kit. The good old Holosmith build that a lot of people think about. I think, or well, me personally at least, I think about it when I like think of Holosmith. Um, yeah, so I've been since then, I guess, for like 5 years or something now, an NG main. Over those years, I did I did a bunch of raids back then on Holo, um, and then later also on Quick Scrapper, Power Scrapper, Heal Mech, Power Mech. Um, since then, I obviously shifted towards dungeons more, or primarily. Like I don't really do a lot of stuff besides dungeons these days. Yeah, in Guild Wars 2. But I feel like I played a bunch of different engineer elite spec builds over the years. Also the mechanist builds, also like some power mech when it was super busted after it came out, some condi mech as well, some alak heal mech as I already mentioned, and of course also a bunch of scrapper builds in different types of content, just in the open world or in fractals, in raids and in dungeons nowadays a lot. And yeah, I feel like I have quite a solid understanding of where those builds kind of are and what are the upsides, what are the downsides, um, which leads me to making this video today, where I give my opinions about them. And well, I have to say that I'm just recently I've started. Usually, if you guys or if people know me, I do a lot of dungeon tours, which means like 5 people, and we rush through dungeons. But recently had like I don't know, some sort of phase where I was like, okay, let's get back into some solo stuff. I used to do that way back before HOT, not on NG back then, but anyway, I decided to let's do some solo dungeons. Let's just have a bit of fun. And I just I played 150 heat ECSU classic Holosmith because it's fun to me. And man, I noticed so much. I noticed how bad Holosmith is, and it's not even funny. Like in tours or generally speaking, when you play Engineer these days, I think it's a no-brainer to play Scrapper because Scrapper is just that good. Um, I think it's and I think it's so sad where Holosmith is right now, pretty much. Um, and of course, if you compare like builds like this, you can always ask the question. Um, one build is stronger, one build is weaker. Like, what should you do? Should you nerf the stronger build to make it weaker, so the weaker one gets better in comparison, or do you buff the weaker build to make it stronger? But and I'm not sure what to what to generally do in this regard. I'm of the general opinion when it comes to balance of Guild Wars 2 that the game is insanely power crept recently for no reason. I think they could nerf every build in the game, not just NG, but every build in the game by 10,000 damage, like minus 10,000 damage every build, and we would be like we would be in a better place, generally speaking. Maybe a bit of a hot take, but I don't know. I feel that way. Yeah, but anyway, let's get back to NG and why fucking Holosmith sucks so much. Yo, Editor Ben here. I just wanted to quickly clarify something. When I'm saying that Holosmith sucks, I'm not saying that it sucks in general. Of course, you can play it no problem in raids, you can play it no problem open world. It's a fine build to play. I'm just saying that if you compare it to Scrapper, it is kind of hard to justify often slash always to play it over Scrapper, because Scrapper is just that good in comparison. That's what I'm referring here to. I don't know. When you just compare it with Scrapper, it's seriously depressing to what result you come to. It's like Scrapper is pretty easy to get into. It's not like hard, honestly. You have so much utility. You give obviously super speed, which is just super nice and comfy. It's super amazing to have it in combat. You can move around quickly. Super chill for open world, but also really good for like instance content like raids and stuff. You have obviously you have the barrier, just the passive sustain is just insane on Scrapper. Like you pretty much it's not easy to die. Like the only thing that can kind of kill you is Condi damage, because you don't really have that much access to like Condi cleanses and stuff. But again, the barrier, this might not really be relevant to like a raid scenario, where you have like 9 people around you and some people provide you with boons, some people provide you with heals. But I'm just generally speaking, in the open world generally, or just generally playing the video game, it's never bad to have this like passive sustain from Scrapper. Makes it super nice to play pretty much in everywhere. And yeah, so you have insane utility. Also have insane access to CC, by the way, which is also part of the utility, I guess. You have the super speed. You have the barrier. And on top of that, you you also have just more damage than Holosmith, which is just crazy to me. Because if you think about it, on Scrapper you also have the choice you can make where you can play quickness, you can play just power damage, you can even play Condi these days. I'm not sure how good that is. Personally, I've never really gotten into Condi. Scrapper, I know back in the days it wasn't even possible, because Scrapper had this like trade where you do like less Condi damage but more power damage, but they removed that a while ago. So but anyway, you do more damage than pretty much any Holosmith elite spec overall, which is just crazy to me, since especially if you think about that, you have the option as a Scrapper, to play that boon build, to play that quickness build. You have that option as Mechanist to play Alacrity, but you don't have any boon support options on Holosmith. Holosmith is a pure DPS elite spec, and it just does less DPS than the offensive builds from Mechanist and Scrapper. And on top of that, it's also harder to play, which is just crazy. Like, I don't have anything against hard to play specs, generally speaking. Like, I might even like that about Holosmith to a certain degree. But it feels really shit if it's hard to play and then also just does less damage overall and has less utility. So yeah, I think I think that makes it so right now, even though, as I mentioned earlier, I had that like phase where I soloed some stuff, and I did it on Holosmith, and it's not like a problem of, oh, I won't be able to like make it if I'm on Holosmith, but it just feels so troll to play Holo instead of Scrapper. You literally just put yourself at such a disadvantage for no reason. Which is a bit of a shame in my opinion. And I feel like yeah, Holosmith should be buffed or Scrapper should be nerfed, no matter what you decide. I'm not really judging which is like better to do here. Like the game is, as I said, the game's already insanely power crept, so I'm not sure if you can buff Holosmith like a lot. But anyway, let's dive a little bit more into Holosmith, I guess. Like, there's different builds obviously we can play, and some people might say now, since I said Mechanist does more damage as well than Holo. Like, if we compare the Condi builds, look at the benchmarks, we can go to Snowcross and look at it here for a second. Of course, never mind. I didn't even see that earlier. The Condi Mechanist also does bench higher than, or well, kind of the same as Condi Holo. And Condi Holo is one of those builds, like, it's one of those builds where in a real fight, you're not gonna pull this number, you know, like it's so hard to pull this number. In comparison, Condi Mechanist, way more chill to build, way more chill. You have the fucking mech out, you're chilling, you can put that shit in autocast. For whatever reason, like the mech skills, I think that's like a mega retarded thing that you're able to do that. I mean, you guys can tell I'm not the biggest fan of Mechanist. I don't like pet specs, generally speaking. I think Mechanist was a big letdown, and I have some ideas how Mechanist could be a way cooler spec if they would be willing to redesign it, which obviously is not on the cards and will never happen. I'm sure, but anyway, I'm not gonna go into that in this video. But yeah, I'm just saying like, let's get back to the point. Like Holosmith, yeah, it does like it's a 20th best benchmark, but I mean Power Scrapper is ahead of it, and it's way easier to play, and it's and I don't really like. Usually speaking, I'm not really a big fan of benchmarks. I guess I should say this. I'm not a big fan of benchmarks. I think a bunch of builds that have good benchmarks, you know, like Condi Holosmith, kind of behave pretty, or it's kind of really shit in real actual fights. Like you're not really gonna be able to pull this off. It's not really realistic. And other builds that maybe have lower benchmarks in real fights in comparison to, you know, certain builds, they might do better. So I think benchmarks, you always have to take them with a grain of salt. But yeah, just to like compare a bit, right? It's I mean, we can look at Power Holosmith, which is the, well, we are obviously talking about ECSU, by the way. Here we're not talking about like the old overheat, because the old overheat is so fucking trash. It's not even on Snowcross anymore. So this is 150 heat Holosmith. This benchmark is also insanely fucking outdated, which also kind of just tells you how, like, shows you the current state of Holosmith. Like, this is the only benchmark that's like, this benchmark is a year old and nobody updated it, because it's just pointless to play the spec these days. That's how it feels like, at least. Even Core NG has like a more up-to-date benchmark. So yeah, but yeah, Power Scrapper obviously, you know, does more than Holosmith and is way easier to play. So I don't. This is just a bit upsetting as someone who is a Holosmith enjoyer, and obviously that's like super subjective. Like I'm not saying like, you know, I don't I don't like. I just like Holosmith a lot, and I wish it was better and worth to play. I don't know. I generally feel like ECSU. I wouldn't like. Let's get into maybe some things I feel like could be changed about Holosmith that could make it like better. I don't know. Again, I'm not. You know, I'm just a random player of this game. Like I don't really have insight. Like, there's a bunch of people who probably have more knowledge or whatever. Like, you know, like I just do my thing these days, kind of in Guild Wars 2. So there might be better players to, you know, judge certain stuff. I'm just giving my opinion. Like I'm not really sure how I would buff 150 heat Holo. I think generally speaking, I think Holo 5 should do more CC than this. I think it's crazy that like a skill like Blast Gyro just does like 300 defense damage, and a skill like this, which if I use it, I'm gonna lose DPS, right? Because like theoretically, like if you just play by the book, so to say, you don't really have even space to fit that in, right? Because it would just use up too much heat. So I think this should just do straight up more CC. If you compare this to Scrapper, or Scrapper should do less CC again. I'm just warming up. But yeah, like ECSU, I don't really care. I'm personally I used to be obviously a big fan of like the overheat Holosmith, and I think this one is like so in the shitter right now and so unplayable. It's crazy. So what I think they should do is they should really lean into the choice you're making right here when you're playing this, which is that you want to overheat. So I don't get. I think they should revert it to how it used to be, where your tool build skills don't go or go on cooldown, right? Like if you overheat right now and you have that trade, you get less penalty than if you overheat with ECSU. But I think there just should be no penalty. Like and it used to be that way like a long time ago. I think they should bring that back. Would instantly make this build probably it would for sure make it more fun to play. Also would also give it more damage. I think at the same time they should remove the fact that if you overhit with this trade, that you take that you deal damage to yourself. I think that's just so annoying. Like you will just never pick this build. You will never pick this build like to play it in like open world or something, or in any fight where there's a bit of pressure on you. I'm not talking about raids now where you have like a fucking healer next to you that completely juices you up, and so of course in a scenario like this it doesn't matter at all. But in every other like situation you would never want to like play this trade because it just feels so shit to overheat and then put so much pressure on you by damaging yourself. So I think you should just take no damage if you have that trait. Your 2-bit skills should go on no cooldown. And I feel like instantly this build, we're cooking, right? Like it would be way more fun to play. Would it be like there damage wise? I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just like a number thing. You could like tweak some numbers. You could, maybe generally speaking, like if you wanted to buff Holosmith instead of nerfing Scrapper, you could like just buff Holo Forge as well. Like the skills put more damage on 3 and 4. I don't know. You maybe put, I don't know, like some condies on the auto attack, where there's like nothing on the auto attack right now. I don't know. Maybe if you play like a certain trade, you put some bleeding, some fire. I don't know. Yeah. Well, another thing that we can talk about, I guess, is rifle. Rifle is like completely useless. This weapon it's actually pathetic. Which is so sad because I mean there is like a mechanist build, like a rifle mechanist build, but even this is just like if you want to play the best power mechanist build, you play sword pistol. So rifle is just no place right now, I feel like, which is a bit sad. And I feel like I don't know, back in the day when they changed rifle, like put more power on the auto attack, and I think that was kind of a mistake, honestly. Nowadays it just gets straight up outclassed by hammer, which is super unfortunate. I think rifle should be honestly the more offensive version of hammer. With hammer we have the reflect on 2, we have the block on 4, we have the CC on the static field on 5. Of course, sure, we also have CC here on 4, we have the immobilize on 3. But generally speaking, I feel like it would be cool if rifle would be like the more damage-orientated version of hammer, and then if you need that reflect, if you need that block, then you can pick hammer. So I don't know. I would put more power on rifle 2. I would put more power on rifle 5. I guess. I mean, it's a little bit unfortunate. This is an 18-second cooldown skill. Means it doesn't proc firework, for example. Would I want them to put it on 20 seconds of skill? No. But yeah, like also I guess something unfortunate about rifle. But with the recent changes to bomb kit, maybe if they would buff like rifle 2, 4, 5, would do the changes I suggested a second ago about PBM. Maybe the old Holosmith would be kind of back. Maybe you could play this again in this OG setup. I don't know. I think it would be cool. But yeah, that's how I feel about NG these days, about fucking Holosmith, which is in a pretty shitty spot in my opinion. And I hope, yeah, I just hope they will buff it and it will just, yeah, will get better and it won't feel as shitty to play Holosmith right now, like it is to, like compared to Scrapper, because Scrapper is just so fucking broken, it's crazy. But yeah, anyway, I recorded this video also before they announced the new NG Elite spec, so I'm curious how this will look, since as of right now we know like nothing about it. Hopefully something that's fun, more fun to me than Mechanist. Anyway, thank you for watching and listening to my rambling, and see you next time. Peace.